Hello, chaps and chapettes. Welcome to episode 8 of the Investalex podcast. I'm here, sat down with Mike Sargent, and he's doing amazing things in the service accommodation and deal sourcing space. So for the benefit of the viewers, Mike, could you just give a bit of background about yourself and what it is that you do?
Yeah, my name's Mike Sargent. I've started in property just shy of 3 years ago now. Initially, it was with the plans of getting some rent-to-rent. HMO actually was the strategy I was looking at, but I fell into service accommodation just because I guess I was attracted to the cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
And then to accompany that, after sourcing a lot of deals in the SA space, I set up a management company to complement the deals that I was sourcing that are around SA. So yeah, I've been doing that now for about just 2.5 years in terms of management.
Yep.
So most of my units, we'll dive into this a bit further across the conversation, but they're spread across the southwest, so Cardiff, Swansea, Bristol, and a couple of just dotted.
So South Wales.
South Wales, in Bristol,
yeah. Bristol as well.
Coming in Bristol, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, with service accommodation, particularly, I don't know, with HMO, there's so much change in and around the guests. So instead of like a single let where they're probably there for 6 months or maybe a year as a minimum, you might have a 2-night stay and then a new guest and then another a week stay. But obviously the crux of it, the most important bit of it is getting them long stay bookings. So I guess my first question is, how do you manage the guests and how do you get these long stay bookings?
Well, to be honest, we don't tend to. The 2-night stays, they come with problems. And
Exactly.
It's like any industry, right? The more people you deal with, the more problems that you face. And it's like anything. But
it's that changeover, isn't it? Where a cleaner might miss a day or...
We don't know. Cleaners do. Cleaners don't miss a day.
Really?
I'm so set on to squeeze as much money out of SA as you can. You have to have same day changeovers. And if the team can't accommodate, then you've got the wrong team, because you need to make sure that you could have people in there.
Yeah.
You want to get as close to 100% occupancy as you can, right?
Of course, yeah.
So if you've got a team that can't accommodate, then you've got the wrong team.
But the cleaners will be almost the lifeblood of your service accommodation business.
100%.
Because without them, it could go all peak tong if they miss an appointment, is what I mean, basically. Or if it's not up to scratch and you get a bad review. Reviews are absolutely everything with service accommodation, I find. Because if I'm staying somewhere and somewhere has got 5 stars across the board, another one's got 5, but then one star, I'm not going there.
The problem you've got with that, though, is that you're not going to please everyone. And this is one of the problems with SA, right? Is that I've got apartments and some of them are unbelievably high spec in terms of the tech that you've got in there. I mean, some of the landlords we work with have spent thousands on just furnishing, decorating and keeping them up to like kind of top tier, top luxury apartments, but you'll always find someone who still has an issue. So that is an issue. You need to find a way of counteracting these bad reviews. But I mean, I've had a review because a guest called and said that the ice tray was broken.
Really?
So you kind of, how you get around that, unfortunately, you're going to meet people who are just
9 out of 10 people not even going to be using the ice tray.
Well, exactly. Just buy a bag of ice, mate. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's one of those things. But the service accommodation space, I mean, for me, I found it at the beginning, it was unbelievable. And I think I grew a company in terms of management that was very successful in a short space of time. And I fell down a route that wasn't necessarily the route I was planning on going down. But it was fruitful and I enjoyed it.
Sometimes it just organically grows like that.
Organically grows, but I was going down the path that I wasn't set out to go down. So I'll touch on this in a bit later on in the conversation. But we went. My plan was to get 15 units in year 1. I ended up with 40 odd. So I grew quicker than I expected, and that kind of came with challenges. I was working constantly, and that had I guess a positive effect on my bank balance, but a negative effect on my life and my family life, wider life, because I just didn't have enough time to, 1, source deals, 2, go into developments, which is my later plans anyway. And I guess I wasn't as present as I wanted to be. But when I grew my team, and the one thing I didn't want to do initially, and this is one of my flaws that I had to learn, is give anything away. So I needed a team that could take things off of my plate. But it was so difficult to relinquish control. Yeah, because it's your baby.
I was going to say that because you've grown this business, it is, well, you just said it is your baby.
Yeah.
And you have that almost like controlling nature of it.
Yeah.
Okay, you built it from scratch. How can I trust anyone else to deliver on the same way that you have?
Of course.
It's
And
really
to be
tough.
honest, I mean, the best thing I did was learn to give things away, because as soon as I did, I had more time to focus on what I did well, which was sales. Working with people is my bread and butter. I've been in sales for 15 years prior to setting up my own business, and working with people is where I thrive. When it comes to setting up systems and the kind of, I mean, I'll call it paperwork just to put a name on it.
Admin or
Admin.
the technical
It's
side
just,
of
I got
things.
ADHD, right? So
Yeah.
I could do
think
10
most of
things
us
at
do
once.
these days.
Exactly, yeah. I could do 10 things at once, and only one of them may get finished because I'm trying to do it all.
Yeah, I find the same issue. Like, I'll open up an email and then something will pop in my head, and I've got to Google that.
You're diverting
and then
your attention.
half an hour's gone. I was meant
Yeah.
to email that person.
Yeah, exactly. But as soon as I found people that could take things off my plate, so I got a PA. Shout out to Lucy. Honestly, best thing I ever did. She took, well, I say PA, she did a lot of the property management stuff as well. So she took so much off my plate, and she did it better than me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I learned from that is that there are people out there that will give you 110%.
Yeah.
And once you find these people, hold on to them, because they're gold dust.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, yeah, currently a couple of questions coming out of that then. So, first of all, so you scaled to 40 units in your first year. How long have you been going so far?
Wow. So I scaled to 40 units. There's a bit of a loophole here. So basically what I did, I scaled the business, and I sold the business as of last week, which is not something I've actually,
really?
I've not told anybody. The management company.
Well, this is a podcast.
This is a podcast exclusive, mate.
Fantastic.
Yes. So there's a few reasons why. The reasons I touched on already, that I wasn't necessarily going down the path that I set out to go down. It was good,
Right, yeah,
and
you said that.
it doesn't necessarily mean it's for you. There are companies around where I live, Cardiff, South West, South Wales, that are doing it very, very well. And I was coming up head to head against competitors who only, they were management companies, and that was their sole purpose, and that's all they did.
But that's not necessarily maybe where your passion lied, or where
Well, it
what
was
you
just
wanted
that
to do.
I didn't want to. I got into my own business so I could have more freedom.
Yeah.
And
Almost
the
sounds as
saying
if-
goes, you're leaving 9 to 5 to work 24/7.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
literally what happened. I
It
was
sounds
working
as if you've got out the rat race to join the service accommodation rat race.
100%.
And that's
It
almost...
grew faster than I even
Exactly.
noticed, and I was proud of having this. I guess this business that had so many moving parts, and I built it, and I was like, wow, look what I've created. But ultimately, it's not what I set out to do. So after a few conversations with myself about where I really wanted to go, and a few incidences, which I'm happy to go into, they're not pretty, but there's the highs and lows of SA, right?
Yeah.
And no matter what you put in place, you do come across challenges and issues. It's inevitable, right? Because you're working with people day in, day out. But I had we had one guest who'd passed all the checks. They booked through booking.com, I think it was. Had the ID
how
upload.
do you vet these guests?
Well, we take the IDs. We do
with 40 units.
Well,
there's a hell
the
of a
thing
lot
is, you
of
can vet them
guests.
to an extent, but you're not going to do background checks like you
No,
would on a HMO, right? You're not going to
But,
do it.
Deposit.
We take
ID.
deposits. We do all of that. Deposits,
Yeah.
ID. But there's only so much you could know about a person that's going into SA, and realistically, you don't really know, because one person could book and he could take ID, etc., from people who are going with them, but you don't really know who's in your house.
Yeah, they could be bring 4 of their mates, sleep on the floor.
Well,
whatever,
that
have a
has
party.
happened. Which is, you kind of take deposits for those problems. But this one particular instant, there was a guest message and said there was a problem with the toilet. So my property manager popped down just to look at it. She happened to be in the area. Popped down just to see if it was worth. Guests always say there's an issue when it's easily solved.
Okay.
So before we pay for a maintenance team,
Just have
we
a
thought
quick
we'll have a look
inspection.
gander and see what the
Yep.
problem is. Yeah. But when she arrived, you could smell weed.
Right.
So she went into the bedroom where the ensuite had the blockage,
Okay.
and asked that there's a guy on the bed, and he was on tag. It turned out he was on bail, but it was booked by a woman within like council or something like that anyway. And they housed him while he was waiting to be, I'm not sure if he was sentenced or waiting. I'm not sure what the intermediate was, but he was there for a short period of time with 2 support workers, two men. And she asked him, he said, you can't smoke weed in here. And he just tried to attack her. Out of the blue, jumped out of bed and tried to attack her.
What, your PA or what?
Yeah. Same
Went down
Lucy,
to
who I
inspect,
inspect the toilet.
and then this guy tried to
Jump
assault
out,
her.
just jumped at her, yeah. So I had a call from her, and I'll never forget that voice when she the panic in her voice. She said, "Please come down. He's not letting me leave. he kind
That's
of just,
scary.
it was very scary. So I was luckily I was in the area again. So I drove there really quickly, and he'd run off by the time that I got there. But I called the police and said, look, this is happening. And they turned up, and he did get arrested. But and I think he was held back by the two lads. Well, yeah, again, yeah. But I was thinking, you know, I don't want to have to worry about my staff being in these situations. And
no one signs up for that, do they?
no, not at all. And obviously, it almost puts the pressure back on me, regardless of the team that you have. You've got to be there. And I think for me, that was just an issue that, you know, if I was in the business 100% and wanted to scale to the point where I could get more and more properties, that would have been a challenge I could have overcame. But it was just one reason that I thought,
I'm trying to think how you would have overcome that. I guess maybe vet them a bit more fully.
Yeah, potentially. But again, I mean, you don't know who the people are, do you? You don't do reference checks, I guess, on an essay.
But ultimately, like, the responsibility for every ongoings or happenings in the business, in your units, falls on your head. 100%. And it is a shame that this particular instance happened to Lucy. But yeah, as is all the highs and lows with service accommodation, I've heard all sorts of stories. Like I mean, Lucas shared one on the story as well. Similar sort of, well, not similar thing, but this guy was having a party, smoking weed and whatever in his block, and the whole thing, they had to call fire engines and stuff. That he set the whole smoke alarms off and everything. So, but he had a call from the guest saying, you know, I've set the smoke alarms off, and Luke was thinking like the whole block's on fire. Yeah, he's thinking, Jesus Christ, like what's happening here?
The thing with SA as well, the problem is that the 9 times out of 10 the issues are after 5 p.m. and on weekends, because that's when the guests
are there.
Or drinking.
Okay.
So regardless, I mean, I've had directors of businesses that are there for a month, and they're away from their family for a bit. They still get a bit carried away, and you know, people act silly when they're drunk, right? So you know, and my staff don't work weekends. I don't have that, or evenings really. They kind of do guest comms, so they're on their phone, etc. But I don't have boots on the ground, so that it still falls on my head. So that was a sort of.
So these problems has led to you selling the business. So
there's one sort of straw that broke the camel's back, which I can talk about. It's a bit of a dark story, but it's up to whether you want it to be shared.
I mean, the floor is yours. Absolutely.
Well, yeah. So it was.
If you're comfortable with it, that's fine.
It was a week to the day. So that happened on a Wednesday. A week later on a Wednesday, one of my cleaners called me and said that the keys aren't in the lockbox when a guest checked out, so they couldn't get in to clean it. And I have spare keys. I usually have 2 in each property, but for some reason this time I had them. They were in my office, so I went down there with the spare key hours later, and I left them in the lockbox, thinking the cleaners would go back. And then I thought, hang on, to check everything's okay in the flat while you're here, do a spot check. So I tried to get in the apartment, and the door, even though I unlocked it, I heard it unlock. I couldn't open the door. And it has one of those like textbook keyholes that you could look through, and I saw there's a mirror on the other side inside the apartment reflecting the other side of the door, and it was bolted and chained. So I sort of took a step back, and I thought there's someone still in here.
Okay.
And this is at 5 p.m. So the guest was checked out at 10, supposed to check out at 10.
That's really weird.
So I knew someone was still there. I had a feeling in my stomach, thought something's not right here. So I called again, had to call the police. And I said, I think he's not responding. So I'm trying to put 2 and 2 together, trying to work out what the issue is. And they said, well, we can't come unless we know there's an issue, which is fair because police are busy and all they know is there's a locked door, right? They're not locksmiths. So long story short, I had to break the door down, and I saw a suitcase on the floor with folded clothes. The suitcase was open. And as I walked in, turned the corner, he was dead on the living room floor.
This one of your guests?
The guest, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and it's... Well, I mean,
so that just after Lucy being essentially assaulted, I can understand why you wanted to get out of that business.
It was sad. It was. I called a friend of mine and said, "Can you record me breaking the door in?" I knew something was wrong.
Right.
Something in my gut was saying.
Very, very smart of you. I'm not sure if I would have thought of that, because I've found a dead body. Essentially, there's a suspect.
Well,
you could just be a suspect in a way.
One thing was saying, something in my gut was saying there was someone. I kind of had an idea that was the problem. I don't know why. I just something was saying.
That sense maybe.
Yeah, oof. And
this is heavy.
I know. It's not exactly the essay story people expect, but it was just. I mean, I'd rather just be honest about the situation. But yeah. I called the police. They turned up and obviously investigated. And I'm not going to go into what happened to him, but he checked in on the night of the Euros final on a Sunday night And one thing I noticed when I went in there, that all the beds were still made, the towels were rolled up still, and I'd gone there on the Wednesday, days later. So it implied that he hadn't yet even been to sleep. It happened on the night of the check-in. So he'd been there for a few days. And that there's no foul play or anything, but it's, there's still like an ongoing investigation, I guess, because they're working out what happened. But after I just thought, this.
So obviously that's clearly had a significant effect on you to want to step back entirely from SA.
That was the straw that broke the camel's back, 100%.
Well, it's pretty.
I don't want to put anyone off SA because this isn't like a reoccurring thing.
I imagine this is an extreme.
100. I've got friends who have businesses longer than myself in management, and they've never come across anything like this. But it's just
it's very extreme, but I think it's a bit more than a straw on the camel's back. It's more like a RSJ, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, wow. So it clearly had an effect on you. I mean, what was your thinking when you saw this? Like, you seem quite a calm and composed bloke.
Yeah, I mean, men don't talk about stuff at the best of times, right?
Yeah.
And at the time, I thought I was okay. The police actually said, "Do you want me to get anyone you could talk to?" And I'm like, "I'll be fine," But I think it definitely had an effect on me. But I did. I'm happy to share this. I went to therapy. I have been going to therapy. I've seen a therapist once a week now.
Yeah,
just to kind of
talk
about it. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what the benefits would be, but it's had a massive benefit. I would encourage anyone, for any reason really, to talk to anyone about stuff if they can, and he's had a huge help, and just to understand it, digest it. Listen to this. My last name is Sargent.
Yep.
So the police got their wires crossed, gave his family my contact number, and said, "Call me for updates because I'm the sergeant on the case."
Oh, Jesus.
So the next day, his dad's phoning me and he said, "Are you the man that found my son?" And I'm thinking, mate, I'm so sorry, obviously. Yeah. So dealing with that, it's just, it was important that I had my own, I guess, person to talk to. But that's something extra that you've had to deal with in a way, like speak to the man. Yeah.
Son,
he was lovely, obviously. He was grieving, but that was, it wasn't a long conversation. He was like, "I'm really sorry, there's been a mistake there." But that was that. So yeah, I mean, that was like, right, I'm definitely getting the ball rolling now. And I was going to unwind my company. So I thought I'd approach a couple of businesses and see who was
Seems to have sold it quite quickly then, if that was just the Euros.
It was. It was quick. Mate, I think I had the first conversation and then 2 weeks later it was done.
Okay.
But we had a company who was in Cardiff who was buying a lot of service accommodation businesses. So I had a quick chat with them and we came to an arrangement, and
so they were actively looking to acquire a company.
And they were always the competitor I was up against, trying to, their rates were lower, and they had a good team. So I thought, if you can't beat them, join them.
So that being said, Mike, so moving away from SA, I know you do a bit of deal sourcing as well in South Wales and Bristol still, I think.
Yeah, I'm sticking to South Wales.
South Wales. Yeah. But so what's next for you in the business? Are you, obviously no more SA. What's next?
So, I mean, I was sourcing the whole time, right? So I actually sourced first. The reason I set up the management company was to complement the SA deals that I had. I thought if I could do a full 360 solution, so find the deal. If it was SA, then I would be able to manage it as well. A bit more cash flow. Yeah. And I could offer an investor. I think they remained, not in my pocket, but they remained,
it's more of a full package that you
basically, yeah. And then if I get another one, which I did, I continue to manage. So,
or it even works as a BRR potentially.
100%,
Instead of renting to a single let, like I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Your management company can take it on and charge 15%, something like that.
15 was my go-to. Yeah.
Slightly more than an estate agent, but you're going to make a hell of a lot more per month anyway. So your returns will be a hell of a lot better.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. So Sargent Property Group is the name of my sourcing business, and that was something that I was going hell for leather in, to be honest. I was selling deals. I was doing well with sourcing. Again, going back to sales, that's all I've ever really done.
Yeah.
So sourcing I loved, and I've always loved. Selling's a buzz. So you sell a deal. I was something that I always knew I wanted to do. So I've actually, there's a guy that I did some unofficial co-sourcing with, and I say unofficial business with. He had his own business, and we did a lot together. So I said to him, "Why don't we just set up shop together?" You actually know him. So I spoke to him yesterday.
I know him.
You know him, yeah. His name's Matt Wheel.
Oh, yeah. Matt.
Yeah. Because I mentioned I was coming here, and he said that he knew you, which was interesting.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy.
He's a really nice guy.
He's got his hands in all sorts of pots, hasn't he, Matt?
He has, yeah. He's the yin to my yang. He's very but going back to what I said about the admin stuff, the processes, he's very good at that kind of thing.
Yep.
Whereas I'm more of a boots on the ground, meeting people, trying to get investors, selling essentially. Yeah. So together we make quite a good team.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the birth of M&M Investing, another exclusive for you there. So
fantastic.
That's launching.
We'll Okay. Well, when it launches, I'll update the
1st of September, mate, which is tomorrow, I believe.
Well, then this podcast will be out after that, so I'll definitely drop the links and stuff for that down below. But that sounds exciting. I mean, I think a business partnership, a business relationship, is so important to not have two people that are the same.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
As fun and exciting as that would be, because you're both, letting off fireworks together, not literally, but you get on so well. It's so important to have for someone else's skills to complement your weaknesses.
100%.
I have weaknesses. I'm happy to admit that. I'm sure you do as well. And if someone else can pick up where I lack, that's where the business can thrive. And I've got some thoughts as to some people I'd like to bring in.
Yeah.
Some of my mates, like they've got sales experience, financial experience, tax and legislation experience. So all of these things that can complement me, I think would be a good addition into the business. But yeah, yourself and Matt, I mean, deal sourcing, South Wales, how's that going so far?
It's good. Yeah, we've for the first 2 weeks leading up to launch, we basically tried to connect and build partnerships, really. So there's an estate agency. Well, I say they're quite a big operation, but we went to an event in Bristol called BPN. BPN is Bristol Property Network, I believe it's called. And one of the guys that runs that, Joe, he is involved in quite a few estate agencies in South Wales. So we're looking to. We're in the process of setting up a partnership. So exclusive partnership. So we work with them quite closely. They have their own solicitors, building team and management as well. So with that, we offer again the full 360. Right, I'm just not managing them myself. So that's a
that's
plus.
Another thing off your shoulders.
We still offer the same thing, but it's not me. Yeah,
exactly. That sounds fantastic. Actually, how have you managed to build that relationship? Because I'm sure a lot of deal sourcers, hopefully listen to this, but I'm sure a lot of them would like to hear some sort of tips and bits and bobs as to relationship building with, like you said, like estate agents.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, that's what I've done well. Like going back to what you just said then about having flaws, right? I mean, one thing I've tried to do and be really honest with myself with is that everyone knows their strengths, but the weaknesses are where you can find someone who'll complement them. But if you can find your own and try and if you're aware of them, you can use them to your advantage. Like I said, I'm not great at processes, but I am good at meeting people.
You're a people person, you said.
Yeah. So going to events, I mean, throw yourself in the mix and try and just talk to everyone. Like you're not going to unlearn something by chatting to everybody and just put yourself out of your comfort zone. Like growth is uncomfortable. The more if you're comfortable, you're not growing, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're go into a room full of people, and if you're in a room with people and you feel comfortable, it's because they're not going to say below you. That's a bit of a wrong turn of phrase, but you want to be in a room with people that are smarter than you. Yeah. So you're going to learn. Because you have to talk to them. And people have always been where you are. They started somewhere, so they're gonna be quite open and welcoming
and understand you, and share some advice. Yeah, I mean, when you talk about being outside your comfort zone in order to grow, I can resonate with that. With literally yesterday, I had a meeting with this gentleman just on Teams, but I might meet him next week in Manchester. So I had a meeting with him, and he sort of works for this capital company, like finance company, and they work exclusively with high net worth individuals and basically family offices in the real estate. So, and he was asking me like, what sort of deals have I done or what is in the pipeline? And I said to him, because I'm well aware of how much money family offices have and high net worths or whatever. So I said, I've got eyes on these opportunities in London, upwards of £1 million. And he said, well, okay, that's great, but we need higher than that. I was like, okay. So I sort of sat back and thought, what sort of numbers are we talking? And they said that he said they'd rather do one big deal, 15 million, 20 million, something like that, than lots of Small 2 to 3 million type ones. And he
I
was
love
like,
that this smaller ones are 2 to 3 mil as well.
yeah,
So,
I know. I was literally mind blown. And he said it so blasé as well. I was just like,
But that's going back to what I said about talking to someone who's a lot better than you, right?
Yeah.
Because you're just going to follow in their footsteps.
It was so humble, really, really nice guy. Was there to help me, was there to... I sort of pitched it as like I want a long-term funding partner, you know, so myself and Damon, we could... There could be something there, I don't know, but we'll see. But he said, like, what's your capacity like for that? And I said, well, let's maybe start off slowly. I don't want to run before I can walk. I'm confident I can do a few of the smaller projects, which are smaller.
You still want to deliver, right? So you don't want to bite off more than you can chew.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to deliver quality and value to the client rather than just trying to do too much. And I'm all for putting myself in the deep end, but
still got to swim.
It's got to be a strategic decision and understand what sort of resources I have available. So that's when I'm starting to think last night, who can I bring in? I don't know. We'll see. But obviously nothing's locked in at the moment, but it's getting me thinking about the bigger picture again, not just the little bits and bobs.
I met a landlord actually a few months back. He has a few properties in Swansea and they're so high end, and they were just rent to service accommodation units that I would pass it on to another investor. But he asked me to meet him for a coffee, and I thought that was a new thing from a landlord, because usually they just want to have a phone call and chat logistics. And I thought, well, I guess he wanted to meet me and just make sure that I was looking after, or putting somebody in there that was going to look after his asset, which makes sense. Quick chat, and we just spoke about golf for about an hour, to be honest.
Oh yeah, how did you get on golf the other day?
Golf,
did you break 100?
I broke 100. Yeah, I did.
I said I'd slate you on the pod.
I know. I was so nervous as well. I was at a corp event, and I started off okay, but the guys I was playing, I don't drink. But the guys I was playing with were getting a bit more pissed as they were getting along.
A few cans.
So I was just getting better and better as they got worse and worse. So yeah,
I think there's a bit of there's a turning point when you drink. You sort of get a few really confident and start pinging it down with the driver, like 300 yards. And after 2 cans and anything after that, then you sort of
all goes to pot.
missing putts from only about this big. Just goes to shit. But
yeah, this landlord, we got to talking, and I asked him like, what? This goes back to your question actually, how you meet people, but just ask questions, because I spoke to him and I said, like, you know, what other properties do you have? It turned out he owned a £300 million C-suite business. And he
C-suite,
it's the £300 million business basically.
Okay,
He had a new business he was setting up. He was an inventor essentially. He found problems and solved them. And there was he worked for the product was a GPS tracker that you wore on your wrist. So if you can't, and it knows if you fell, it's like a private medical care would use it. And if an old lady,
is this for the elderly?
Basically, or if somebody's, sounds bizarre, but someone's lost at sea, they'd wear it because you could track them, which is another example.
Even underwater? Well,
I don't know how it works, but he had a lot of money anyway, so that's kind of led down to a different conversation path, right? But meeting him isn't something you'd necessarily do, because you just think just trying to get these 3 essays over the line or rent, but there's always bigger conversations to be had.
It's only, I think it's called the 5 whys to really understand a problem. You ask the blanket question, the first one, they give a response, and then you just ask why, like 5 times, and then you should really get to like the cause of the problem, and you can sort of manipulate that and turn it around to investors. Like, just ask 5 deeper questions about their responses. So I feel like that's what you've done in terms of, okay, so what do you do for work? All right, maybe not what was your revenue, but that sounds interesting. Tell me more. And then just asking questions. You found out that this geezer, he's got £300 million business. And so what does he want to do in property? Obviously he's a landlord.
Well, he's like in his 60s, so he has properties everywhere, a lot of commercial units. Excuse me. He has a lot of commercial units, and he gave me way below market rent, just because he wants someone to look after. Excuse me. He wants someone to look after his asset. So yeah, he people like that they're kind of gold dust, right? They look after you because they're not necessarily worried as much about the bottom line. They want to make sure their kind of investments are looked after.
He's probably he does not care about monthly profit, does he?
Well, to be fair, I mean,
he just wants to park his money in assets.
Exactly, yeah. And he wants to work with people. He said, like, rather than have somebody in there that's going to pay more money. He'd rather have someone who's going to look after it, and he knows that he likes to deal with people. That's a kind of a Welsh mentality that I've noticed. A lot of, I think I lived in London for a while, and I think there was Welsh people. I guess it's a calmer lifestyle in like kind of Wales, so it's less fast paced.
Anywhere outside of London, it's calmer.
So I definitely, that's why I kind of wanted to stay with South Wales is my my patch, I guess, for my one. I'm from Cardiff, so I know the area well, and two is just a more of an easier conversation. I think people are just they're more open to a chat. Try to be careful what I say because I don't want to offend anyone.
No, it's fine. I mean, this was a few days ago. You know, people stood outside train stations and stuff like you're asking you to like give money to charity. Didn't have any coins on me whatsoever. Never carry cash. And I said, "Oh, sorry, mate, I'm late for a meeting. I've got to go. Don't have any cash." And walked off. And this guy, he's just like shouted at me, just called me a dickhead.
No way.
So you do get that in London, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think you would get that in Cardiff city centre, but
well, I don't know. You can get things anywhere, I guess, but yeah, London's a different beast. It's a breed of its own.
Yeah, it is. But I love it for it. I love it. So yeah, moving forward, you've got this deal sourcing going on. You said you wanted to get into developments as well. Are you getting close there, or
I don't want to pigeonhole myself and say that I'm a deal sourcer. I am, but I want to work in property. And again, going back to what I said earlier about having more freedom, I think hedging your bets, working, with a few different strategies is always the best way to go. If I was just focusing on one, the market could determine where I end up, excuse me, a few years down the line. So development is something I've always wanted to get into. And if I can find deals for other people, I can find them for myself. And Cardiff, mate, outside of Cardiff, you're looking at the valleys. I mean, it's a different breed. If you go into the valleys, it's like a zoo sometimes. It's so different.
I've been to Cardiff quite a lot.
Oh yeah,
and I've been to Newport quite a lot.
Newport's good.
Yeah, been up Pennyfan.
Pennyfan, yeah.
Yeah.
That's like the biggest mountain in South Wales. But you do it in like 45 minutes.
Oh yeah, I was hungover though, so it was a bit longer.
Fair.
But yeah, it's very, very rural. So, but
Cardiff's a beautiful place, and it's for me.
Really
I
nice.
think I lived in London for about 4 years. And when I went back to Cardiff, I was a bit bitter about it because I kind of thought I was leaving the big smoke. But then when I realised what I had, it's the only place that I know of you could drive half an hour one way, and you're in the beach, and half an hour the other direction, and you're in the mountains. Pennyfan being one, right? And the landscape's beautiful. The cost of living isn't that bad in comparison to other places, and versus your what you can get, and the average wage, the average salary. If you don't work for yourself, is good. You can get a good lifestyle. Plus, you're not far from anywhere.
Yeah, I really do like Cardiff. Like it a lot. But in terms of property, what do you enjoy most about property?
I think for me, like investing, it was always something I wanted to get into. But
do you have any assets in your portfolio at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I've got my own property, which to be honest, I bought that a while. 2019, I think I bought my own house. If I could go back, I would have done it differently. Probably would have rented for a bit longer and invested that into assets that I would have put tenants in. But you don't know what you don't know. I learned that a bit later on in life. But I've just put an offer in on a property in the valleys. Where is it? I want to say Abercunnan, which is everything starts with Aber. So
I've heard of Abergavenny.
It's not. Yeah, it's a bit. Is it about half an hour from there?
Okay.
So I put an offer in there. That made the asking was 83 grand. So you put and you're not. It's not even.
What type of property was that?
3-bedroom terrace.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy, but obviously
you could times that up by 10.
Yeah,
you can get that in London. It's
mad, isn't it? But even if you go to like Bristol, which is like 45 minutes from Cardiff, right? I mean, the house prices are still through the roof because in comparison. But for investors, it's such a good place to invest because of that. You can start small, and you can get multiple properties so quickly, and the rental value isn't that far off because it's right. There's so many universities in the area. So for a HMO, for example, you can get a lot more money back in terms of your rental income, let alone your capital appreciation. So it's an amazing place to invest. It's similar to...
And you'll get a commercial val on the property.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
Backs it up and you can pull more money out.
Yeah. So I love it for that reason. And a lot of investors... In fact, I met an investor from London. He was a hostage negotiator. Unbelievable job.
Really interesting now.
Yeah.
Really
he was cool. And he wanted to invest in South Wales. So yeah, we sorted him out within I think 3 weeks. He had deals on the table that he was choosing from.
Brilliant. Yeah, I mean, that's obviously... Well, I'm from Essex, live in London, but you need a certain type of like ilk of investor to
Mhm.
invest in London. But I lived in Birmingham for basically 4 years, so I know the area there really well. And that's why I choose Birmingham as my deal sourcing patch.
Okay.
But it is tricky when you're essentially remote,
Yeah.
living an hour and a half away.
Do you have anyone that helps you with like a team in place, or helps you
Yeah,
with
I've
anything?
got a PM who oversees all the projects
Yeah.
there. But and he's great. He's been on the tools for 30 odd years. I think his back's gone and just
Yeah.
doesn't want to do it anymore. But he knows all the trades, so he's a fantastic resource as a project manager.
That's a good one.
Got a few building teams to lean on, which is good as well. But yeah, I'm starting to trying to think bigger,
Yeah.
better things.
What is when you say think bigger? What is your kind of
Yeah, to
aspiration?
essentially raise investor finance
Uh-huh.
because I know I can deal source. That is a fantastic skill to have
Mm-hmm.
because if you can just deal source for others, you can do it for yourself.
I got a question. The question I come up against the most,
Mm.
and you can't like when I'm trying to sell a deal and I'm selling it as the best. Well, you know, I'm packaging it and I'm trying to sell it. You know, I'm giving everybody the benefits, the pros,
The whole service.
the whole
Yeah.
service. But then the question is, why do you not? If it's that good, why are you not taking it yourself?
Capital, amount of money available.
Yeah,
Which is why I want to raise capital because I want to buy them.
100%. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because you can't take everything, can you? But that's the question they always ask, right? Is why you're not taking it yourself if it's this good? But yeah, you can't buy everything.
No, absolutely. But if I had that backing, you know, I've got a wealth of deal sources who are essentially friends. You know, yourself included. I could just call on you and say,
Or Matt now.
yeah, and Matt, yeah, and just nationwide to suit the budget, the capital that is available. I've got a wealth of people who have trusted and they've got a proven track record who I'm confident I can buy a deal off of.
Yeah.
So it would take me away from deal sourcing and have like a more of a overall investor approach to that and just giving the private investors either interest rate at the end of the year or on a joint venture basis. Had some 4 actually very, very interesting calls yesterday. Probably made more progress yesterday than I have in the last
Sounds like a busy
month.
day, to be fair.
It was mental. It was crazy, but came out of it a bit. My head was a bit fried, but yeah. Like I said earlier, getting out of your comfort zone and doing these things is the only way you're going to improve.
Yeah, that's, to be honest, I think for me, there was no structure. So when I worked a 9 to 5, I would spend, again, going back to ADHD, I would be at the office and I'd probably do less in a 9 to 5 because I'd be trying to do all these tasks and then out of the blue, I'm thinking about monster trucks because my attention just diverted to something else, right? But being able to work for yourself and do this kind of job is you can do it around your own time.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes I'll just have like a few hours where I think what I want to do, that my main goal is to try and get as many developments under my belt without spending a penny of my own money. Raising investor finance is definitely key. And I think that goes back not just to meeting, when I go to networking events and I'm meeting people, I'm always trying to acquire people that have more money than me, which isn't hard at the minute.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's a lot of people out there that are worth a lot of money, right? And I think you go to these events and you meet some big players. I've got an event tonight, actually, with Savoy's. It's in a golf simulation in Soho, which is... do you know what's funny, actually? I joined the Savoy's group about 8 months ago. Yeah. And because I was operating this management company, I had no time. I didn't go to a single event. So the director called me and said, "You're the only person that's not come to an event." And I was like, "Look, I'm really sorry. I do see value in it. I just didn't have the time. But now, obviously, I've got a lot more time." So an email came around and they said there's a golf simulator networking event. And I'm like, I'm in. You know,
where is it bank? Putt Shack?
No, it's in Soho. So
Soho.
Soho, yeah. I can't remember the name of it, but it's
like a full...
Do you know Flight Club? It's like it's similar to that, but golf. So it's like a simulator kind of dealio, but there's a bar there and stuff. Is it
putting or is it full
No,
swing?
full driving range.
Okay,
They've got PGA pros there that kind of give you a couple of tips as well.
Yeah,
Not that I need them.
No.
Definitely need them.
My friend's got a very similar thing. What's the TrackMan? You know the TrackMan?
Oh, yeah. That's his.
No.
Okay.
Oh God, no. That'd be
that's
unbelievable.
serious.
But he and his dad and some of his cousins have set up like a golf simulator in Thorpe Bay in Essex, like near Southend, and because Thorpe Bay golf clubs around there, quite an affluent area, so they just get people in, almost like a Top Golf type thing.
Yeah.
But it's a simulator and they've got a bar
Yeah, it's cool.
lounge area. So it still not been there. Do need to go and
Yeah,
check it
yeah.
out, but it's quite a long way from here.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I'm looking forward to that, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I think, now I've got a bit more time. I'm going to utilize these events as much as I can. And they've got a good partnership, I think, with Shawbrook Bank.
Okay.
Which I'm not sure they finance a lot of the deals. But I'm just trying to trying to rub shoulders with the bigger players.
Definitely.
I've got a mentor actually who's a great developer. He's younger than me. He started a call center when he was like 18, 19, and he grew that, and then he used that the value. You kind of refinance that business and put it into property. So he's got a lot of developments now around Newport, big kind of apartment blocks. So yeah, I've invested in
along the river, because there's a lot going up there.
Yeah. There's some parts in Newport that
really being developed.
Yeah, massively. Yeah. I think Cardiff is as well. Like the amount of money they're pumping into it and anything around. They're building a big sports arena there. A ski dome as well in Merthyr, which is, it's kind of bringing a lot more, especially in the SA space. There's a lot of people now trying to get SAs there because there's going to be a lot of traffic. But Chris is the name of my mentor. He's actually a good person to follow. But I think I'm a huge believer
I'll
on.
have to follow him.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
If you, I'm a huge believer on trying to find someone who does it better than you, and just learn from the mistakes that they've made.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's always someone that's better than you at anything, right?
I don't necessarily have a mentor, but I'll definitely use. I'll just shout them out. AFPI.
Yeah.
So it's two twins and Aston Haslam, and I use these guys very frequently. They're probably sick of my messages by now, but I use these guys as like mentorship in a way to almost not replicate, because I want to do things my own way as well, but learn from them. Learn from them, because they are raising finance and doing it successfully. So there's no one else better really to learn off, and they're basically my age as well. I'll get on well with them. See them there next week. Got like an AFPI networking event, which will be good in Manchester. That's cool. Yeah, but definitely you need to have that support. Yeah,
definitely. I think if someone's doing it better than you, just follow what they've done, and you're not going to go far wrong. I guess.
Yeah. Just drop them a line, and they'll be able to put you in the right direction. Yeah. So, we're coming up to it's 1st of September tomorrow. Got 4 months left of the year. Is there any goals that you'd like to achieve this year, or are you starting to think about next year? What's going on in the business? Set the new one up with Matt.
Yeah, so M&M Investing launching first, which is tomorrow. So we've got quite a structured business plan that we put together for the next quarter. Not obviously we've got a business plan that's longer than that, but the next quarter where we're really honing in on growing our investor list. So I'm going to every event that I could see nationally. Because investors are everywhere, right? It's not like you have to, and anyone can be an investor. They just have to have money, and they don't even need to be in property at that point. But most people who aren't necessarily, they wouldn't class themselves as property investors. It's probably the most known strategy in terms of investing, right?
Or stocks and shares or property.
Yeah. So
it's a good way to diversify your funds. And open their eyes up to other possibilities. Because some people are just sitting on cash, don't know what to do with it. And if you just point them in the right direction of property and say, look, this is what we can do, I can do for you, how does that sound? Yeah. Like, they'll be daft to say no.
Yeah. Well, that's the idea. So we're trying to get as many investors as we can for the next 3 months, trying to really hone in on the process. And I want to make sure it's nailed down, because I don't want to start a process, for example, from finding a deal to actually managing a tenant. I want everything to be so structured. I want a blueprint that we could follow, that it streamlines it for not just for ourselves but for the investor, because you do a good job for one investor, they're coming back, right? And one deal turns into two, turns into three.
I think if you have that process as well, that'll alleviate pressure and time off your shoulders. So I can't remember who said it, I'm going to butcher this whole thing, but essentially your business is only successful until you can walk away from it and it still runs itself.
100%.
So you can still go on holiday, you're not even there, you're not on your phone or the laptop, but it's still ticking away nicely, and you're still getting sales or getting leads or deals or whatever. So the fact that you're trying to implement a process, a strategy is impressive. And how have you found putting together a business plan? Because I've the last few months I've made about 10 different revisions to my business plan, and it is difficult.
You do have to do that. I think a business plan is something. It's like a work in progress, right? Like that's why I said 3 months. So we put something together that is sustainable for 3 months, and obviously we've got a structure for the future, and a kind of an end goal where we want to be. But it's not something you can tweak it. I wouldn't feel like we've failed in any way if we look back and think, right, you need to change this or adapt, because the market changes, things change, you need to kind of revise and change, right? But I think I'm not someone who can sit down, and I'm not book smart by any standard. I am a people person, and I'll always say I'll outsell anyone. That's something that I'm quite confident in, I think that's the mentality of a good salesperson. Put it into football terms, right? Look at like all the best footballers, regardless whether they are or not, will say they're the best. Like Ronaldo and Zlatan, they'll just say, "I'm the." Yeah, exactly, right. He's not necessarily the best footballer in the world, and he might not even believe that to some extent, but he says it because that's the mentality you have when you are, you're kind of manifesting it. Yeah. And I think in a sales or in a business way, if you kind of have that mentality without being a dick and being cocky, it will kind of transfer.
Confidence oozes out of people, and it definitely does with you, and it's important because it shows that you're sure of yourself, and if you've got to make sure that the investor feels confident. They're giving you their money, you know what I mean? If you're gonna say, "Oh, I think this is a good investment," no one's gonna give you their millions. Well, how's South Wales doing? It's all right. It's fantastic for these reasons. You rattle them off, and then they go, "Oh yeah, South Wales does sound good."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which is kind of my where I come into play. But the business plan. Matt and I sat down together and we kind of put it together. A massive help, ChatGPT. Like in terms of I wanted a blueprint for a kind of business plan within property, right? And I thought I'd give it a go. And I didn't write my business plan. Obviously, I implemented my own business within it. But it definitely aided in the kind of the structure and a way that I could manage.
I literally saw a video yesterday, I think it was, about so Apple on their website, they use Apple, it's called Apple Power Words. Yeah. They're really strong, powerful words to like entice people to buy their product. Obviously, they don't talk about camera megapixels. They don't talk about how quickly it charges, for example. I don't know. But they use like empowering words to make whoever's viewing their website think, God, that like resonates with me.
Well, they said, didn't they, with Apple, they're the best marketers
they're up
by
there,
any
100%.
Company, right? Yeah. When they brought out the iPod, rather than saying the features, if you look at like an iPhone, right, they never talk about, like you said, the camera. And with the iPod, they I think the advert was a picture of the iPod and it said 1,000 songs in your pocket. That was it. And that's what it does on the tin. Like, it says what it does on the tin. And that was all it needed to say. It didn't say anything else about the actual product apart from what it delivers for you, because at that point you had and Walkman, I think, was the first
CDs,
whatever it was. So you could never get more than 30 songs or whatever it was. But 1,000 songs in your pocket is all you needed to say.
That's brilliant.
And it's short and sweet, isn't it? Yeah.
Even Red Bull, they don't market the drink at all. But Red Bull, the brand, they market extreme sports, people flying through cliffs like this wide, planes, F1. They market it like a thrill. Yeah, I think that comes through the drink. Like Red Bull's disgusting.
I can't stand it, mate.
Who pays
honestly.
£4 for a disgusting drink? Gross. It gives you a bus. You just have a coffee. Yeah, but do
you know what's
their marketing's very clever.
The Red Bull got taken to court years ago because it didn't give a man wings. And he won because their slogan was "Red Bull gives you wings."
Yeah. I've noticed they've stopped it.
Yeah, well, that was why. Yeah, they had to change it because the guy was like, well, didn't give you wings, and he actually won the case.
That is ridiculous.
That's funny, right?
Yeah, that is hilarious, but
ridiculous. It's a bad day in the office for someone.
Yeah. There's some crazy like law cases that like the Jaffa cake one, whether it's a cake or a biscuit.
Oh yeah.
The fellow.
What's your take on that?
I think it's a cake.
I mean, it just
because if it's stale,
you wouldn't dip it in a tea.
No, that's true.
It's a cake, right? Just packaged like a biscuit.
Yeah. Oh, I love a Jaffa cake. I'm getting hungry now. But so just finishing up then, I've got a few more questions for you, Mike. So what does financial freedom look like to you?
Financial freedom is being able to go out for food and not have to look at your bank account. Being able to, I don't want billions I mean, I want to be able to look after my kids and my family and not have to worry. They always say, I'm not a fan of the saying money doesn't buy happiness. And I'm going to be honest and say, to an extent, it does, right? It doesn't, you can't purchase happiness. But a lot of the stresses in life come from not being able to pay your bills, or, stress comes from lack of money. So not having that worry, I guess, is a huge benefit, isn't it? It kind of alleviates any kind of stresses. Like I say, any stresses, a lot of stresses, right? So for me, being able to provide for when my daughter wants to have driving lessons, I can just do that for her, or just being able to provide in that way is for
not letting them grow up and being spoiled.
100%, yeah,
like,
cool. It's just being able to provide the things and not have to worry. Yeah, I think that for me is something that's freedom. Yeah, not having a Rolex or a boat.
Yeah, no, I resonate with that, and that's a very humble stance, which I like. So I like that a lot. Next up, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
My brother gave me some advice. He's a business owner. This goes back to building processes. When I set up the management company, during it, I was trying to implement other people to help me, right? Like get staff to take things off my plate, but I didn't have the processes in place or the way to show them how to do the job. So I was trying to actually, while manage it, which took loads of my time, create a system or a training program that could actually show somebody else how to take things off my plate. So at the very, very beginning stages, regardless of how small you are, record your processes and try and actually have something tangible that once you scale and you're at a place where you can bring someone in to take some responsibility,
like a training video,
anything really, just something to pass on straight away. That if I did that at the beginning, it would have been so much easier to scale, because
it's almost killing two birds with one stone. You're creating a training video to pass on to someone else. Okay, you got to talk aloud while you're doing it, like on, is it Loom?
Loom, yeah.
But at the same time, you're doing your work anyway.
Yep.
So
exactly,
killing two birds. Yeah.
It was helpful. It was
a good bit of advice from you to me, I think.
Well, that's what I'm trying to implement now with M&M investing. Make sure I've got that down.
Yeah. Very smart. Very smart. Okay, Mike. Well, I think we're drawing to a close today, but it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for sharing some deep, dark stories, but a lot of advice, a lot of value here today, I think, and I've thoroughly enjoyed that. So thanks very much.
Me on. Cheers, mate.
Yeah. Pleasure. So I'll put some of your social media down there in the description. But thank you for watching, everyone, and listening wherever you are. And remember, don't stress, just invest. I'll do the rest. Cheers.